people around the world accept that Jesus Christ was a real person.
Not the majority. I mean,
Yes, the majority.
yeah,
The
but what
majority.
has the majority to do with the truth? Because there was a time when people thought that the earth is flat, right? And they were the majority.
You're talking nonsense. You're talking incoherently.
No, because you are telling me that the majority believes in Jesus Christ. The majority has nothing to do with truth.
Let me explain something to you. Belief doesn't necessarily mean something is true. All Muslims believe in the existence of Jesus Christ. All Christians believe in the existence of Jesus Christ.
Wait.
I'm not done talking.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And most secular people believe in the existence of Jesus Christ. Now, if there are 8 billion people on this planet, and Christians and Muslims and secular people make up 5.6 billion of those people, then the majority of the world believes in the existence of Jesus Christ, regardless of whether they believe in the magic. So that would make atheists Christians. So no, what you have to say is that Christians believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God who died on a cross and rose on the third day and ascended into heaven.
Okay. May I now make? I let you done the statement, and your statement about Muslims is wrong because they don't believe in the same Jesus.
Oh my God!
Right?
Oh my
they
God!
believe.
I don't want to have this conversation. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't feel like getting angry.
I know exactly what I'm talking about because I can bring you some Muslims and they will say no, the Jesus what you believing is not the same Jesus we believing in, because Jesus was just a guy who was talking shit and he didn't die on a cross, and this is the main point about Christianity.
I'm leaving the room if you don't drop it. I'm going to leave the room if you don't drop it. You don't know what you're talking about, and you're not listening to what I'm saying. So
I've listened to you. You told me that most of the people believe in Jesus Christ, but Kath is gone, and I have to go to my fridge to grab some beer. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Would be necessary to be quantified as
do some holidays like we went from out of Egypt and we were not slaves anymore. If you know that Moses never existed, this thing never happened, but to be not a slave is a good stuff. So this is why they keep doing this holiday. But the Christianity takes it to the next level, and there are some, if you look at the Talmud or something, they were talking about Jesus, but they know, according to our book, this guy is wrong. He claims to be a son of God. We don't accept it. It's blasphemy. And that's why we reject him. That's why they rejected Muhammad too, right? But they knew that the story behind it is just he was an extreme guy, and Muhammad was an extreme guy too. It just changed in a wrong direction. Suddenly you have ideologies. If you don't do this and this stuff, you are going to hell, which didn't even exist in the Old Testament. It's just Christian invention, heaven and hell and devil and blah. These are all Christian inventions which didn't exist before. So no wonder that the Jews reject them. Yeah. And to say that Muslims, again, that the Muslims believe in Jesus, no, they don't believe in Jesus, Kath, because you are here again. the Jesus which the Muslims believe in is a different person. Because if the Muslims will believe in Jesus, they will believe in him. But they don't. They don't believe he is the Son of God. They don't believe in the salvation and he is the Savior. They don't believe all this stuff. It's a different person. So your argument that they believe and let us add to the Christians who believe in it does not work. And atheists don't believe in him either.
Can you do me a favor, Pio, and repeat what I said about the Muslims, just to see if you're actually paying attention? Is that possible?
You said you counted all the people who believes in Jesus. This is what you did.
Yeah, and what was I counting about those people?
That they believe in Jesus. But I told
No,
you.
that they believe. No, that's not it. So you weren't listening.
Okay, sorry. I want to listen to your argument again. Please explain me again. Maybe I was wrong.
You said what would be necessary to be quantified as a Christian?
Yeah.
Merely the belief in Jesus. But you didn't specify what that belief was. So then I said, well, if that's your definition, then the majority of the world believes in Jesus because the majority of the world believes in the existence of a man named Jesus who was from Bethlehem or Nazareth.
He was not from or Nazareth, there were two, right?
Interrupt while I'm speaking. It is extremely rude.
I'm sorry. Go on.
I then said that to be a Christian means not only do you have to believe in the existence of Christ, but that he was resurrected. Muslims believe that Jesus of Nazareth was a prophet of God and treat him with that reverence, which is why when they speak his name, they follow it with peace be upon him. They treat him in the same line as they would Moses or Esau, or Jacob, or David, or Solomon. All of those people are prophets of God, and that is what Islam believes. So they do not believe in the resurrection, which is why they are not Christian, but they believe in the existence of the man Christ. Just as Jews believe in the existence of the man Christ, even though they don't believe him to be the Messiah, they believe him to be a false prophet. Just as Christians believe in the man Jesus and also believe he was resurrected, just as secular society believes in the man Jesus who preached a message of love and mercy in the first century in Palestine. All of those people believe in the existence of Christ. Only one group of those people believe that he was God.
Okay, so I was wrong by saying that all the people who believes in Jesus were Christian. I admit, okay, the statement was wrong. So only
Hold
those
on a minute. I don't
people
believe in
who are
Jesus.
believing
I don't believe
that he
Jesus
was a
existed as a
savior
person.
and he was
again.
selling a message of love, which he didn't. In fact, because we can provide verses and show you that he was a hater. So Muslims doesn't count as Christians because they don't believe in the same stuff. So there are only Christians left. And from all these Christians, there are different denominations and they believe different stuff.
Yes,
They call each other devils, even they are calling themselves Christians.
There are 6 mega blocks inside the Christian faith and 40 major denominations, of which there are many, many sectarian divides.
And comes down to over 3,000 different branches of Christianity.
I wouldn't really call them branches. So, for instance, the Presbyterians are a denomination of Christianity. However, inside the Presbyterian Church, there is, for instance, Presbyterian United States of America, which believe, that women can be pastors. There's Presbyterian America, which believe that women can't be pastors. So these little itty bitty disagreements, to me, don't really matter because they all still believe in the main thing. Now, if you were going to compare a Presbyterian to a Jehovah's Witness, I would say there's a big difference. But I don't really care about the fact that, they want to call themselves Presbyterian America, there's Presbyterian USA, there's Presbyterian Church Global or something like that. They're all Presbyterians to me. So
What
to
about
me,
the Mormons?
there's only 40 denominations inside Christianity. I don't consider Mormons Christians.
Okay, but if you ask them, they will tell you they are Christians.
They would tell you they're Mormons, most likely.
Oh, they would told you that you are Christian because they believe in Jesus Christ. There is just
most
one
Mormons that I've interacted with don't generally call themselves. Generally speaking, when I ask them what they are, they say they're Mormons. They don't say they're Christians. I'm not saying they wouldn't say they're part of the Christian faith, but generally speaking, I don't hear them refer to themselves as Christians. But that's just anecdotal.
Okay.
Yes, they believe in Jesus Christ. They also believe in, space aliens and the third dimension and all these other weird things.
Oh, why you call the other stuff weird thing and you don't call Jesus the weird thing? What's your argumentation about this?
The story ended with Christ.
Yeah, you say so, but because Mormons would say it didn't.
Pio, I gotta say something there about the Mormon thing. I mean, the Catholics don't call themselves Christian; they call themselves Catholics. Mormons don't call themselves Christian; they call themselves Mormons. What is the difference?
Well, Catholic means universal faith in God.
It's irrelevant. Mormon means Christian.
Well, Mormon means following the prophet
And it doesn't
Joseph
really
Smith.
matter. It doesn't really matter what Catholic means. Catholics call themselves Catholics. They don't call themselves Christians. Mormons call themselves Mormons. They don't call themselves Christians. So your argument for Mormons not being Christians falls right apart. Because if Mormons aren't Christians, then Catholics aren't Christians.
It wasn't a argument. I prefaced it by saying it was anecdotal.
Yeah, it was. It will be more like you sitting and destroying my argument. Like,
well, I mean,
not
irritation.
Kat's argument.
My irritation, generally speaking, is that when I say something, it's almost like people only listen to half the words. That's my general irritation when people speak to me. It's almost as if they're formulating an answer while I'm speaking instead of actually listening to what I say. And I've noticed this when I've taught in university level classes as well.
And this happens a lot with lots of people?
With lots of people.
So you think it's the people or you?
I think most people are predisposed to dismiss what someone else says in lieu of their own opinion, so they don't really care what's being spoken. They generally just simply formulate an answer to the next question while the person is speaking.
Okay, so let's go back to the statement you made that most of the people are believing in Jesus Christ. So because you said Muslims and all these Christians, and now you explain to us that not all the Christians are Christians. So it's only a particular amount are believing in Jesus Christ. So it wouldn't make them majority of this world.
I mean, now you're just ignoring the previous statement that I made where you admitted that you were wrong. I mean, it's fascinating.
No,
right?
I admitted that I was wrong, considering Mormons and Catholics and all the other branches of Christianity as Christians, because you told me no, only those guys who believe.
Let's do some basic math here. How many people are living on the planet right now? How many living people on the planet?
Let's Google it. I don't know. It's off top of my head. How many people? How many people are on this planet. 7.53
Billion.
billion, yeah.
All right, now let's just remember that number. Let's drop to 7.5 billion. Okay. 2.2 billion people on the planet fall under the Christian faith.
2.2, you said.
Yes.
Okay,
So
it's not the majority.
now 1.6 billion people, or 1.8 billion people, depending on who you ask, are Islamic. So now we've got roughly 4 billion people, which is over half the population. Now let's add in secular people, which make up about a half a billion, so about 500 million. So now we're at 4.5. Now let's add in Jews. Now we're at 4.6. Okay. And let's add in all the other little people that kind of like orbit these faiths: Coptics, Gnostics, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, people like that. So now we're at about 5 billion people. Now, a population of 7.5 billion people, this means that only 2.5 billion out of the 7.5 billion people living on this earth do not believe in the existence of the man Christ. Now, of the
Yeah, but I will not agree to this.
Of those 5 billion people, only 2.2 billion would be classified as Christians because they believe that Christ is Lord. So
Yeah.
yes, the majority of people that believe in the existence of a man named Jesus of Nazareth who lived in Palestine in the 1st century AD. But only 2.2 billion of those people, or roughly 1/3 of the population, believe that he is God. Now, to a previous statement you made about, I don't understand how, these people, like, relating it to comic books or things like that. It is either the case that God in some form exists and created, or God in no form exists and did not create. This is what is known as an exhaustive logical dichotomy, A or B. Okay? This is known as the law of excluded middle. Okay? Now, the evidence for both those positions is not empirical. There is no empirical evidence for the existence of God, and there is no empirical evidence for the non-existence of God. It is known as an undefeatable position in the realm of epistemological studies. So when an atheist makes a claim, there is no God, and when an atheist makes a claim, there is no God. At the end of the day, it is strictly based on a faith statement. Faith being the belief in something with the absence of evidence. As both statements hold a positive propositional attitude to the initial statement, they both require a burden of proof that is equal. And since no metaphysical evidence can be given for either that is satisfactory to the other side, the only conclusion one can make is that it is simply a faith argument, and until we can transcend our metaphysical realm, we can go no further. I personally believe, after exhaustive study and inductive reasoning based on foundational axioms, that the most rational understanding for the existence of the universe that we live in is the existence of a conscious, uncaused cause.
Okay, so there was some points where I
Hold
didn't
on.
agree to you.
Can I get a conscious uncaused cause? Did you just say that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, let me just repeat. A conscious uncaused cause.
Yes.
I'm having a problem understanding what that really means.
What that means is
Well,
that
not so much the conscious, but the uncaused cause. That's the one I'm having an issue with.
right. Uncaused cause illuminates some kind of causal effect that is infinite.
I'm still having a problem with it.
Yeah.
So there's three ways to look.
Did you ever heard? I'm sorry to cutting you. I'm sorry, and I'm cutting you off because it's going to another direction that I don't want. Did you ever heard of Hitchens razor?
Okay, Sydney. Pio, I'll address you once I'm done talking to
Okay.
Sydney.
Okay.
There are three main types of justification that we use for argumentation in philosophy. We have coherentist argumentation, foundational argumentation, and infinitism argumentation. I reject infinitism, which is an infinite regression of justifications. So a pantheistic model of the universe would be something like there was the Big Bang, and before the Big Bang there was the waves, and before the waves there was this, and before this was that, and on and on and on ad infinitum. Okay, I reject that type of justification, so I'm left with coherentism or foundationalism. Since I hold that foundationalism, which is an axiomatic approach to justification, is the most rational way to justify things, I must bite the bullet and say that there is some kind of infinite being that existed in a realm that then created, and that being that exists had no further cause, which is something that's very, very difficult, almost nigh impossible for a three-dimensional finite being to grasp. Infinity is a concept that's very difficult to grasp. It's almost it's almost a null hypothesis. Now, when you talk about Hitchens razor, are you meaning to say Occam's razor?
No, Hitchens razor.
Okay, no, I'm not familiar with Hitchens razor.
Okay, because the main point, we are just talking always for 50 seconds, and you make your explanations for more than 3, and you expect us to listen to it. That's the point. That's the not. It's not a problem. It's a problem for me. Like, that's why I'm interrupting you, because you are going to you gave too many arguments, which I would try to defeat in between, right? Okay, so I will try, or I will quote you what Hitchens' razor is. Things which can be assumed without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. That's Hitchens' razor. And like, you are saying stuff which can, according to you, cannot be proven, but you are assuming them, and you are making it work for your life. But they are irrelevant as long as you cannot prove them.
Well, that's a category error, and that's a misrepresentation of Hitchens' razor. Hitchens' razor, and when you spoke that, it triggered something in my mind, is merely regarding burden of proof.
No, it's
argument. Hitchens' razor is an epistemological razor asserting that the burden of proof regarding the truthfulness of a claim lies with the one who makes the claim, and if this burden is not met, the claim is unfounded, and its opponents need not argue further in order to dismiss it. But when you ask for evidence of things unseen, when you ask for evidence of that which existed before existence, you cannot rely on material empirical evidence, which would put you into a category error, which would dismiss your arguments and still hold the argumentation of the other interlocutor as founded.
You contradicted yourself again. You said that which existed before existence. That doesn't make sense. I'm sorry.
And I googled what Hitchens' razor is, and it said exactly what I've said. What can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. You have no. You told us before that there is no evidence pro and contra God, right? That's what we
What is evidence?
like. I will agree to it. Like, I cannot disprove a God, and I cannot prove a God. But the stuff, because you are asserting still, you are counter to your argumentation how the world come into existence. You're still counting it. Why?
So what is
Because
evidence?
once again, please.
What is evidence?
Evidence is empirical evidence.
So you think that they're okay? So please provide me with empirical evidence of the taste of the color purple.
This question. Okay, I can do it. Empirical evidence of color purple is like
No, the taste.
you get someone who says,
Wait a
"Oh, this
second.
is color purple."
Pio, you misrepresented the question. I didn't ask you for empirical evidence of the color purple. I asked you for your empirical evidence of the taste of the color purple.
Since when color does taste?
Exactly. It's called a category error. There can be no empirical evidence for the taste of the color purple because
Of course they can be. Of course they can be. Hold on. I went and I bought a grape juice the other day. It was purple. It tastes like grape juice. That's what purple tastes like.
That's great. It tasted like grape juice, not like purple.
End of story.
It tasted like grape juice, not like purple. Purple has no taste.
The grape juice was purple. The grape juice was purple. Hold on. The grape juice was purple.
What is the smell of color white? It's the same question.
There is no smell of the color white.
Let's just stick on the purple. But the grape juice was purple, and it tasted like grape juice. So the taste of purple is grape juice.
No, that's not. That doesn't.
We have even a sound of the purple, because if you listen to Deep Purple, you can say this is the sound of purple. But your question is totally stupid. It's like I said, what is the smell of color white?
Yeah, you're proving my point, Pio. You are literally proving my point.
You stated illogical questions. That's the point.
No, yes, you're correct. It is an illogical statement. And the reason I made the illogical statement is because when you ask for empirical evidence of an uncaused cause, i.e. material evidence, something that you can perceive with your five senses and quantify, is an illogical question. You are asking an illogical question when you ask for empirical evidence of a God. You are committing an illogical question when you ask for empirical evidence of a not God, which is why I never ask atheists for empirical evidence of the not God position. I ask them for epistemic justification of the position.
The atheist position is just because you are talking all the time that the atheists are talking that there is no God, which is a false statement, because they don't do it. They just say there is no evidence for existence of God, and they are just, of course, if an atheist wants to have a proof of a God, and they get it, they will believe in God.
Yeah, but that's not an atheist. That's a lack theist.
No. Yeah, you're right. Atheism is the lack of belief in a God.
No, atheism is a positive propositional attitude towards the evidential claim of the non-existence of God.
There is no evidence for it.
As a theistic claim. The belief in merely a lack of evidence is a lack theist position attuned to agnosticism, which has absolutely nothing to do with atheism, because agnosticism is a lack of knowledge.
Yeah, the agnostic says we don't know because we have no proof or disproof. The atheists are saying just, there is no evidence. Everything what we discover does not lead to a God. Everything what we discover is not leading to a God. Everything what we know, it's proving
It's
to
not
the
an atheist.
contrary.
It's not an atheist. An atheist makes a positive claim. I
No,
know
there is no
it-
positive claim from the atheist.
You don't look. I don't mean this to be insulting, mate, but you don't understand how philosophy works.
Philosophy is not science.
Excuse me. Repeat that for me, very
I said-
clearly.
Philosophy is not science.
Philosophy is science. Science
No.
is the philosophy of nature. You cannot have science without philosophy. Philosophy precedes science in every category. Without philosophy, there would not be science. You have committed
I
a
can prove
false
it to you.
statement.
can
No,
prove-
you cannot prove it to me because philosophy bore science. Without philosophy, there can be no science because science is a subset of ontology, which is a main branch of philosophy.
At some point, there was a time when philosophy was considered as science, but they divided. They were not together anymore because I'll tell you why. Because in philosophy we can talk about a topic where me personally is the God, and I created this whole world 5 minutes ago with all the people who are here with their recognition. That's what you are talking in philosophy. This is what you
No.
can talk about.
No,
Of course,
Can you
it's
please name me the 4 main branches of philosophy?
pardon once again.
Can you please name me the 4 main branches of philosophy?
I can't, but I know philosophy is just a mind game, and I agree to you at this point that science would not exist without philosophy. But today it's a different topic because
All right.
science is relating on the data. We
let's
discovered stuff which has
let's
no deductive argumentation. The data
Oh,
which we
you're
discover has
making false-
nothing to do with deductive.
You're making false claims. You're making false claims. So why don't you do this, Pio? Do you think that you like have these answers? Okay. Why don't you just for a moment assume that you're wrong and I'm right, which is the actual
This
state of
will be
affairs right here.
philosophy.
Philosophy of science is
No.
a subfield of
There is
philosophy.
no philosophy of science.
Foundations, methods, and implications of science. The 4 main branches of philosophy are as follows: epistemic study, which is the philosophical study of knowledge; ontological philosophy, which is the study of reality; philosophy of science is a subset of the philosophy of ontology. The philosophy of metaphysics is the philosophical branch dealing with the meta implications of ontology, and the philosophy of causation is the philosophy dealing with our understanding of linear time. Science falls under ontological studies and was created after the Socratic period of philosophy, which occurred during 360 to 320 BCE and involved 4 main philosophers: Socrates or Plato, whichever you assign as the true existence, Diogenes of Toronto, and 2 other people that I currently can't remember their names. Science was born in Aristotelian philosophy and further expounded upon by Aristotle's pupils. This is the history of the creation of science. This is Philosophy 101. You're welcome.
Yeah, and I agree to you. I agreed to you 2 minutes ago before you give me this phenomenal stuff. I agree to you that science was born within philosophy And at one
It still
time,
exists in philosophy. Science hasn't changed. Science has
why?
been the same since the moment created.
Why can I now feel my thought to the end? Okay, once again, at one point at a time, like you stated, science and philosophy was the same, but at some point they went in different directions because philosophy is just a mind game. Science is based on data, and the things which we are discovering don't ever follow or every time follow our logic, name it deductive or whatsoever. The science is based on data, and the data does not match the logic. So you prove science only upon a data and not about philosophical stuff, because in philosophy, as I told you, we can discuss stuff which is not real. This is philosophy.
Yeah.
We can have a great conversation. What it will be if the world would look like that? This is not science. Science is just we have data. Oh, let's make a model which is matching it, not upon our deductive logic, because of the data.
You cannot have science without logic. What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have heard in a very long time.
Okay, let me prove this like this. We look at the universe, and science is able to weight the universe. Like they will weight all the planets, all the matter which we have, and now they see, ooh, there is something else, because we don't have the data which is matching or adding, and so they see, oh, there is some stuff which weight much more than all the planets which we see. There is much more weight into it, and so they see, oh, let's call it dark matter, and now dark matter came into an it had nothing to do with philosophy. It had just something to do with the data we collect, because no one which like me and you and a layman person which will see, oh no, the empty space does not weight anything because it's empty space, but now we have data, oh, this stuff weights something. So the conclusions in science are not based upon logic or the deductive logic, as you say. It's based upon data. We cannot like say, oh, this is not true, because now we find out the data starts telling us something else. It's based on the data.
It's not based on the data. Again, what you just what you are doing, this is just like an incoherent stream of consciousness without any understanding of what you're speaking about. You cannot have science without logic. Logic is the foundation of
I didn't disagree to it.
Science has never not been philosophy. Science will always be philosophy. You don't know what you're talking about. You can continue to assert
you
that
disagree
what you
to me
is true, but you will just merely continue to speak incoherently about things that you have no understanding about.
Would you not agree to me that in philosophy I can talk about the stuff that I made this whole world 5 minutes ago with all the people in it, all the being in it, and like it is, with the recognition that they have? Don't you agree that I can discuss this? I mean, no, there is a proof of it. But don't you agree to me that I can discuss this in the realm of philosophy?
Absolutely, you can. That would be a epistemological discussion.
Right.
That would not
But you
be
cannot have the
an
discussion within science.
I'm done speaking. That would not be an ontological discussion. Can science exist if the law of non-contradiction is true or false?
You didn't
No, it
listen to
can't.
me.
The answer is no, it cannot. Science is one of two things at all times. Either a logically deductive process or a logically inductive process. That is an exhaustive dichotomy of what science is. At all times, in all places, in all possible universes, science is merely a either inductive or deductive logical process based on empirical understandings of the reality in which we live in, which falls under the branch of ontology.
Yeah. Again. I don't.
There is no again. It's
Yeah,
done. We're
No,
over.
it's not done because you are basing your about the ontological stuff and inductive or deductive logic. Science.
That's all you have.
No, yeah, but science don't rely on that. It relies only upon data. And in
No, it
science
doesn't.
itself, you cannot have the same discussion as I told you, and you agree to me. Then we can have a talk about what I've said. Like I made the universe 5 minutes ago, right? You agree to this that we can talk within philosophy about this, but we cannot have this same talk within science. So science is very different to philosophy. And I agree
No.
to you. I
No.
agree to you at the point
No.
that at some point the philosophy was the root of science. I agree with you upon this because at some point the science was the deductive logic. Oh, this happens, therefore this, and therefore this. I give you 100%. 100%, you are 100% correct. But the stuff we discover today has nothing to do with deductive or inductive logic. It has only to do with data. And this data are not following both of this logic. It's just data. And we have to do or deal what we have with these possibilities. We're not going about what is logical or not logical. We're just looking at data and the conclusions come after the data, not about logic.
Playa, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If I take 2 rocks, how do I know that they are rocks?
How do I know that they are rocks? Yeah.
Why can't they be apples?
Why can they be apples?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have words and we name stuff. And you know what an apple is, and I know what an apple is. And yeah, somebody says, oh, this is a rock. And then he comes to another person, is this a rock on an apple? And he will say, this is a rock.
And how do you know that?
We don't know. We define stuff.
How do you know it's defined?
We gave names to different stuff.
How do you know that?
How do I know that?
Yes.
How do I know how we give the name apple to an apple?
Oh, okay. Let me answer that. She said earlier that she had a problem with her bed. How do we know what she meant when she said bed? Okay, because bed is defined. That's why. Just like rock is defined, and just like whatever you guys are talking about is defined. That's how we know. So
Okay.
I think you should sort of move more towards an intellectual avenue of discussion rather than this nonsense.
Well, this isn't nonsense. This is to prove a point. Now,
This is
let's use the rock in
philosophy.
the bed.
He's trying
How
to
do I know? How do I know that my bed is not a rock and a rock is not my bed? Well, we have, as
because we
Pio
name
has pointed out,
things.
I'm speaking. We have, as what Pio has pointed out, data sets, right? Now, data sets are meaningless, 100% meaningless without the application of logic. Because if a contradiction can be true and the principal explosion can be proven, then you can justify anything as a truth statement. Science, above all else, relies on logical processes of deduction and induction, whereby data sets are analyzed in a logical, coherent process. So the reason we know that a rock is a rock and not an apple has absolutely nothing to do with the data sets as a foundation. It has to do with the law of identity, which states that A equals A, and the foundational statement A cannot equal B, which is the law of non-contradiction. Without those two laws, your data is meaningless.
You know
have
what you sound
app-
like? You sound like a plane that's sort of going around and going around and going around and waiting to land and waiting to land and waiting to land but never lands. That's what it's looking. That's what it's sounding like from you.
Well, it's very
With all due
difficult to have a
respect.
it's very difficult to have a conversation with people who've never picked up a philosophy book but presume to know philosophy. It's very difficult to have a conversation with
care
people
about
who've never
philosophy,
picked up
that's
a
the point.
science book but presume to know science. It's very difficult to have people that want to talk about empirical data but have no understanding what empirical data is. So you're right, I am just going around in circles, but it's not because I don't want to land. It's because you guys can't get through your thick heads that you don't know what you're talking about.
No, your
No,
example
that's not an answer.
E equals E. It's even in mathematics, it's not right because you can say A potential to 2 is B potential to 2 plus C potential to 2.
She ran away.
Yeah, I have to go to the toilet. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
All right, time for a break. Indeed.
Yeah.
We will be on a break now for a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen. So let me just introduce. Let me introduce the weather in Canada. This is what it looks like right now. Okay. So anybody who's never been to Canada and likes the dark, doesn't mind the cold, now's a good time to come. Let's see what we got going in the chat. The chat. I have to find it first, don't I? There it is. All right, chatty. What's up? Okay. Now I want to address something that Kathleen said. She said that she asked Pio how do you know? I forget what it was. How do you know what some noun is? And Pio answered, well, we assign a name to them. And then she said, how do you know that? How do you know that? Well, she's being very contradictory towards herself, because she earlier mentioned to us that something was wrong with her bed. Okay, now we assign a name to something as construct called bed. None of us, certainly not me, had any idea of what this bed really looks like, because all beds can look, different. The frame and the this and the that, the construct. It's kind of the same, but um, we have an idea of what a bed is because there's a name assigned to a bed. So when she asks Pio about how do you know what what this is or what that is, I wish I could remember what it was they were talking about. And when Pio comes back, he'll remind me.
I'm here.
Okay, what was
Well,
it that she said that she was asking you about that was all sort of, how do you know that? How do you know that? How do you know that?
yeah, I mean that's exactly the point. When she was asking, how do you know there is an apple or there's a rock,
Right,
right?
that's it. How do you know when you said something? I have a. She asked you how you knew what you were calling the apple or the rock, and that was a silly thing to do, because when she said, "Hey, my bed has a problem," why didn't we say, "How do you know? How do you know that?
That's your bad,
How do
right?
you know that? How do you know it's a bed? How do you know? Like the same nonsensical Christian stupidity that they throw at us, we should throw right back at them. And then they talk about logic, and then she goes into about A and equals A and not equals A equals B, the law of non-contradiction, and then she's absolutely round the clue. She's like I said, she's in an airplane and she's circling, waiting for her clearance to land, and she's circling, and she never lands. That's what it sounds like with
Right.
Christians. It's exactly,
Because
she's not alone. She's not alone. They all sound the same.
I mean, according to her, or according to her explanations,
Yeah,
you would never know what is the bed, what she meant.
that's right. She goes around and around the bend, and she throws stuff out, that has no context and no connection, and thinks that she's smart and educated, and like smarter than everybody else. Certainly, you and I. Oh boy.
Yeah, but the main stuff, what we should ask her is how he came. If she knows so much about philosophy and science, right? How he can explain Jesus, or she?
She never. She's. That's what I'm saying. She never gets to the point. She circles and circles and circles and circles and attacks. Have you noticed how she attacks?
Yeah,
Wow, wow! For somebody who said that Christianity and Jesus is love and beautiful things and harmony, boy, she's like a scorpion.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is exactly the stuff. In the beginning, she said, "Oh, the majority of people believes in Jesus." Then she made opposite statement
Mhm.
because suddenly only 2.2 or whatsoever she said people believes that Jesus is the Jesus figure from Nazareth, not a guy from the Bethlehem because there was a second one. But
Hold on, are you saying
no,
that in the Bible they actually identify two different Jesuses?
yeah, because
You see, I'm right. I'm right. What they've done is they've taken all these
the,
prophets, because Jesus certainly wasn't the only one. There was Jesus, and there was Jesus 2, Jesus 3, Jesus 4, because they all had their corner, I'm sure, of Jerusalem, and they were preaching stuff. And then there was, of course, no written record or oral record or anything like that. So, what was left 100 years later,
yeah,
or 2 generations later, whatever, was just written down from what was remembered and obviously in a very very biased and I guess pious leaning kind of a way. And
Pious.
so the myth began. And so
Yeah.
the myth began. Now, I just wanted to say one other thing. And I kind of wanted to say this with Kathleen in here, but she's not here. If any other Christian would like to join, please come in. However, or ask for.
Oh, Eli.
Yeah. I just wanted to. I was going to say this. I have never heard anybody argue very vehemently that Moses actually existed, because Moses didn't exist, right? Moses is obviously a made up, a mythical, made up
Yeah.
kind of a character.
Most of the
Let me
quote
finish.
unquote
Let
scholars.
me finish.
I'm sorry.
Just
Yeah.
let me finish. So, with the fact, the knowledge, the understanding we all have that Moses did not exist, the Jews were not slaves in Egypt, and Moses did not exist to take them out of slavery, which didn't exist. How then does it follow from Moses not existing that everything else following that all of a sudden starts to exist? Like Moses, without the Moses, there's no Torah. Without Torah, there's no
Right.
Jesus. Without Jesus,
And Ten Commandments. That's the most important point.
Yeah. Without Moses, there's no Ten Commandment, at least not divine. And without just with no Moses, with nothing, none of that beginning, which we know is mythical, there is no continuity. How do they make a continuity physical from a myth? I don't understand how they make that transition and where it actually starts transitioning.
Yeah. I can provide you a link. Okay.
Oh no.
No, not even that.
I just want someone
show you
to
some
talk to me like I'm a simple schmo from the road and explain
I can
to me
even
these
show
things.
you some rabbis, right? Which are rabbis should
Rabbis
be the
never ever trust what a rabbi says ever.
yeah,
Rabbis are
the
liars.
rabbis should
Rabbis are liars. They will lie. They lie straight out of their mouths to you, just like an imam lies to you, just like a pastor, a priest, a bishop, and you name it. They lie. Never trust what they say ever. Okay. Having said that, what did you want to say?
I want to say that the rabbis, and it's like supporting your claim. The most rabbis know that Moses didn't exist. That's the funny point of this.
That's what I'm saying. If they know that Jesus didn't exist, I asked a rabbi once. I said, a Lubavitch rabbi.
Yeah.
I asked him once, who wrote the Tanakh? Who wrote the Bible? And he said, Moshe Rabbeinu wrote the Bible. Moses wrote the Bible, right?
Mm.
So how can you say to me that he didn't? Unless he was lying to me. Was he lying to me?
Yeah, because there are different. You know, there are different. But I will say
no. This guy comes from mainstream Orthodox. Hold on, mainstream Orthodox, Lubavitch, Chabad, Judaism. The leaders basically of the Orthodox Jewish movement.
Yeah. Yeah, I know others which will claim the opposite, right? That Moses never existed.
All right, tell me about them. I've had my rant. I'm done.
No, it's like I asked my rabbi, and he told me. And you can find like discussions between Richard Dawkins and scholars, and then the appointment to Richard Dawkins will say, yeah, most of these guys knows that, because we have evidence of it, because after the 6-Day War with Egypt, there were archaeologists sent to Egypt to find the evidence of Jews which were enslaved there. It's not like it happened 500 years ago. It happened in the last century, right? And they came back and said, "Oh, sorry," and they came to the president of Israel. And and you can be sure of that, if Israel would send some archaeologists to another country to prove the Bible, they should have found some stuff. And even if they will not, they will some kind of lie to the president and said, "Oh, we have found something." But there were scientists. So you see now how honest those people were. They came to the president of Israel and said, "No, sorry, no evidence of Jews being enslaved at this area whatsoever. Moses didn't exist."
Right.
Bam.
Bam. Boom. But you see, that's where it should have all stopped. What happened? The big cover up. It's not. There's no Trump collusion. Trump collusion is nothing. Trump collusion with Russia is fiddlesticks compared to the collusion that spread the lie of the exodus of the Jews from Egypt, led by Moses, and the miracle of the Red Sea crossing, and all the other nonsense after that. Lie.
Yeah.
How many years ago? 3,500. How many years ago did that happen? 3,500.
I mean, what I said, 6-Day War was 1967 or something.
Yeah.
So it's not like they knew it before that. So
Who knew what?
now they know it from 67, let's say it's 70s, means 30 years, and we have 2018, like 70 years, right? So they know it since 70 years.
That just shows that they have political power. They have, they're almost like I'd say the Orthodox Jewish organization is very similar. It's very mafia-like and very similar to the Vatican organization. That they're very strict, and they're very rigid in their law, and there's no. It's almost like Inquisition. It's like an Inquisition environment that you live under when you join these cults, like Orthodox Judaism and Catholicism and even evangelism is a cult. I mean, I'm going to put evangelism. I'm going to categorize evangelism as a cult. Christian evangelism as a cult. I think that's the only way to unite all these 4,000 or whatever Christian denominations they have in the United States. It's crazy. So I'm just going to put them under
3,500.
whatever. Yeah, I'm just going to put them under one umbrella. It's
Yeah.
Christian evangelism, the cult of Christian evangelism.
Yeah. Yeah, what I mean by that is the rabbis know, not the 10%, because you have 10% within every religion who are believing in this stuff literally. And you named stuff like Lubavitch and, let's say Hasidic or whatsoever. They are not the representative of the whole Jewish religion. There are rabbis who admit that this is not the truth. And so they will continue the religion, not because it was the truth, and not because they are following all the laws in the Torah, because we evolved since then. We are not believing in stoning children because they didn't clean their rooms or something. All this stuff, we have Talmud Torah schools who are discussing the stuff. Is it still relevant to our time, all these laws, or not? And they were able to change it. And this is how the Jewish religion, and okay, I'm biased. I'm from the Jewish background, right? But I would say the Jewish religion is capable of changing the rules and changing the stuff and to avoid stuff which is wrong. Okay, if they will get rid of circumcision, it will be perfect. It will be the perfect quote unquote religion for me if you need something to believe in. But the Christianity stuff is like Judaism 2.0, where they're getting more orthodox and believe more and more in this stuff, which Judaism did not, because it got reformed or people started to question all this stuff. And then it evolved to Islam, which is much more, it's worse than Judaism and Christianity, because suddenly, oh, this stuff is directly from God. Yeah, for me, it's Judaism it's and you have these followers. It's not a missionary religion, so you don't need to believe in it. If you don't believe in it, there is no problem with it, because in Jewish religion, you'll be judged not upon if you are a Jew or not. It's just about what you've done in your life. If you've done wrong stuff, you will be punished. If you didn't, you will not be punished. No matter if you are Sikh or Hindu or Buddhist or Aztec or whichever religion you are. That's not the problem. Judaism does not care about this stuff. But in Christianity, you have to specifically accept Jesus Christ. If you don't believe in him, you will go to hell. And in Islam, it's the same stuff. If you don't believe in Muhammad, you will go to hell. So there's just a big difference. So if you searching and if you are a believer for some God and you need the stuff, I would say Judaism is better than Christianity and Islam. Yeah. It's not perfect, but if you look of all this beliefs, Judaism give a fuck of what you're believing in. You'll be judged by God, if he ever existed, just upon your deeds, not upon what you're believing in.
But that's also subject to speculation. I mean, there's no guarantee that that's essentially what's going to happen, because I still say when you die, and your mind dies, everything about you dies, except
Of course.
the
I
part of your body, right?
said to you, if you need a religion, because I'm an atheist, I don't believe in this stuff too, I'm just coming from the Jewish background.
Yes.
But the Jews themselves, they don't give a fuck in what you are believing in. So you'll be not judged upon if you believed in the right or the wrong God. Right? This is the believing in the right or wrong God is it's the worst thing you can do in Christianity or Islam.
Right.
Oh, you worship the false God, you will go to hell. It's not happening in Judaism. They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care what you're believing in. And that's why Judaism is not a missionary religion, and that's why there are so low in numbers, because they don't go out and convert people to their religion.
No, but they do go out and be fruitful and multiply. So
Of course,
to say
it's in the Bible. It's in the Bible.
and they
You're
do it.
right.
They do it. I mean, the average Orthodox, ultra Orthodox family will probably have
7 kids.
7 kids, and some of them will have 14.
Yeah.
And
What
so,
I mean by that.
and you know what I find? I want to say, you know what I find to be one of the biggest, and because it's a mystery, I find it to be one of the biggest hypocrisies of all time. Certainly within the Jewish religion, the modern day contemporary Jewish religion, in that the Rebbe, you remember the Rebbe who was supposed to be like the Messiah for the Jews, the Rebbe
You mean
Schneer,
in New York, this
Rebbe
guy
Schneerson,
or
yeah,
something?
the Rebbe of the Lubavitch, Schneerson.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Oh,
this is what the Orthodox Jews do, the ultra Orthodox Lubavitch, the Chabadniks. What they do is they get
yeah.
married, they have lots of kids, and they learn Torah and they preserve the tradition and this type of stuff, right? So they get
They
this
do
leader,
it.
yeah, and that's their life. So they get this leader, the Rebbe Schneerson, who is married, and he's the leader of all these people, and they're all having kids, millions of them. But the Rebbe himself doesn't have any kids, right? So now
Yeah.
this is a huge hypocritical contradiction. The Rebbe himself doesn't have children, okay? So now the Rebbe dies. Who is going to continue the line of Rebbiness, or whatever the hell they call them? No one. It, the Orthodox, I mean, the ultra Orthodox Lubavitch movement is in an absolute state of, I don't know if a state of quandary actually makes sense, but they are in a state of confusion. They don't know what the hell's going on. And they just, you know what they do? They just pray harder to God, is what they do. The most annoying bunch of, that's the most annoying sect amongst all of Judaism. Those money sucking. You know what they do? They don't. You know what these people do? And it's been and I can I can see it being done because I'm pretty much on the mailing list. But they appeal to the Jewish community for money. Oh, my daughter's getting married, and I study Torah all the time, and I'm too poor to buy her a wedding gift. So I was wondering if you could just donate a little bit towards my daughter, and may God bestow all His blessings upon you forever and ever on your family. Just because it gets so sickening. It comes from these Jews in just these
Yeah.
Orthodox Jews, whether they're in Israel or New York or wherever the fuck. And that's a fact, Jack.
You're right. You're right. That's a fact.
They are disgusting.
And they are disgusting. But from my point of view now, or from my teachings, and I'm an atheist, right? It's like they are not in the majority. There are just some sects of it. But in Jewish philosophy, we will not exclude them. We need them too. Like, there are only 5% of the Jews. So we will not exclude them. We will accept them. We know they are crazy, right? But we will somehow support them to be the part of the family, blah, blah. Yeah. So we know, as you said, they are crazy and they are ridiculous, and to tell their staff, support me and whatsoever. I don't agree to this, but in the philosophy or what I've learned or my teachings are, yeah, those guys are crazy. They are not the majority. We don't need to fight them. Accept them. Just take them with you. At least they are carrying out the Torah. And this is this is what it means to be the chosen ones. Like, you know the argument from any other religions. Oh, the Jews think they are the chosen one and they are better. No. The point of to be the chosen one is just to carry the Torah, and those guys do it. No matter if I believe in it or not, those guys are carrying it. This is the reason why I may disagree with them. I may disagree with everything what they do, but I will accept them as a part of my family. Understand? So it's not the reason. I know they are not logical and not okay, and the stuff you point to me, but in fact, they are carrying the Torah. So this is the reason why I accept them. I don't know if if I explain it correct to you or if you can understand it.
Not really. Could you?
Okay,
yeah.
they are Orthodox. They are doing ridiculous stuff. But we are, when I left them out, according to me, my personal explanation, we are a school of thoughts. And this school of thoughts is based on history. Like 300 years ago or 1,000 years ago, we were all crazy. Those guys are still in this time. We are not. When everything went wrong in the future, they will still practice the stuff we practice and we come back to them. But I know my thinking evolved from their thinking. So my atheistic thoughts are not based on someone else. It's based on questioning stuff, blah, blah, blah. And it is included in their belief. So this is why I'm keeping them, even I don't agree to them. Like we will have atom bomb drowned, and we will, or whatsoever, and we will forget everything what we know now. My schools of thoughts roots in their funny, disgusting belief, because this disgusting belief allows you to question stuff. That's the school of thought. So even though I'm more orthodox and stuff, my philosophy is based on this. Did you make myself somehow understandable?
Well, not really, because it just sounds. I think my understanding, my atheism is just so, to me, so rational and so simple, and that I can explain it in almost just a few sentences. But when you go on and on and on, it gets more complicated, and that doesn't work.
No,
for me.
What I'm trying to say is just okay. I will try to do it in 2 sentences.
All right.
Whatever Orthodox Jewish belief there is, it allows to question things. And the ability to question things led us to atheism. So the root, or those guys which we are looking upon now, and thinks those are crazy, their belief or their school of thought led us to be the critical thinkers. Yeah. It doesn't mean we agree with them and stuff, but the way of thinking, like even in those times and whichever culture they have, and it sounds crazy for us, even then they allowed to question stuff. And this is where we came from the questioning, not from the believing God, the atheists, because the belief in itself allowed us to question stuff.
I don't know. I think the belief in God came from an innate need to fear something. You know, when you don't understand something, that something is got control of you, like something, right? But I dismiss all that. I don't really care. It's not really relevant. Where I'm coming from is that from the point of the infinity perspective, where I say that infinity is more like a circle with no beginning and no end, where matter or existence or something always had to exist and there's never a time when it didn't. And they say the same thing, except they somehow crowbar, oh, but God, before before the circle of existence, before the infinite circle of existence, there was God, which is irrational and quite frankly impossible. But they insist on crowbarring that in there, and that's where right there is when I nip them in the bud, and that's where that's where it should all just fall apart right at that very point. And for some reason or another, they get this cognitive dissonance and this reindeer in the headlights look on their faces, and Jesus, God, Allah, blah blah blah, whatever, Adonai. It's almost like they're all mesmerized by something, or maybe it's some kind of innate fear still that's still in them. They haven't quite evolved like me and you, Pio.
No, it's not about, because if they would evolve, they will think the same stuff like we do now. What I mean by that, the religion itself allowed you to make questions and to question stuff. The ideology, ideology, the religion itself, it allowed you to make questions, and this is where we came from, like me and you now, right? So those crazy people, which are crazy, right? They make a place for us, even if they're believed in God and stuff. The ideology make already place for people like us to question stuff. You are in Judaism, you are allowed to make questions or questions dogmas or question, the like two Jews are meeting and there are three different opinions. That's is the same, and this is reflecting the whole religion. It's not the same in Christianity. You have to do one stuff, no matter what you do, but you have to keep. If you don't believe in Jesus, you go to hell. In Islam, too.
That's
In
all they got.
Judaism,
It's all they got. They don't have a tradition. There's no, like the Jews have a tradition, right? Every year there's certain functions and traditions that are community based. Christians have nothing like that. Nothing like that at all. The closest they can come is something in Easter and probably Mass, but they just come together, say some words, and then they leave. Whereas the Jews, there's community, there's food, there's talking, there's laughter, there's dancing, and all this kind of
Right.
stuff.
And if you go I mean, you have to go to a synagogue, right? And you will see
Right.
there is a guy who is praying. This is the rabbi who is praying. Everyone else in the synagogue is talking stuff. The whole time through the prayer,
That's because they're
talking
waiting.
about-
They're waiting for the rabbi to finish, go and have their food.
yeah, and at some point somebody says, "Oh, please don't talk too loud," or whatsoever.
No, they all know the very last song or whatever they call it at the end of the service is always the same. So as soon as when that song starts, they start singing.
Yeah,
Depending if it's in the morning or the evening and what song it is. In the morning, when they start singing that song, all the men start taking off their talesim or their prayer
Talis,
shawls and
yeah.
start folding them up
Yeah.
and start folding their tefillin, while the song's going on, because they know it's the end of. By the time the song's done, they've all folded everything up. It's in their bags and they're ready to go. And then in the evening, especially Friday evening, it's when that last Friday Shabbat song gets sung, everybody's all ready to go. Oh, we can go, because they're gonna maybe have a quick kiddush and then run off.
Yeah,
Or whatever.
But it's not always to follow all the time the rabbi who is praying the stuff. No, the disgusting stuff. What happened today and to your family and blah blah. They are talking during the whole ceremony, and if they are not too loud,
Yeah.
it's going on and on. So the whole stuff which is happening in the synagogue is just community talking with each other about stuff.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
About regular, it's basically families getting together.
Right.
At least a successful community.
Yeah.
So have we pretty much
Sum it up.
summed it up and lost our energy for the day?
Yeah. You can say again, happy birthday to me, because it's happy birthday to me. And
Right. Okay, can we ask you, well, let me guess, that happy 53rd birthday today?
52nd.
52nd. Whoa, sorry. I forgot you're
No.
exactly 10 years younger than me. But yeah, happy birthday, buddy.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you.
glad you spent your birthday with me. It's so
Yeah.
touching.
No problem. Oh, don't cry. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, then. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
And don't miss the next show, right?
Yeah, and, help a buddy out. Me and Pio are struggling atheists, struggling artists. What we call ourselves? Revolutionaries?
No, we
Because
are
I-
in the
because-
tradition
because
of Judaism.
Ultimately, what we are really is are two atheists who happen to be halachically or rabbinically
Yeah,
considered Jewish.
right.
It's a problem. We hate it.
Yeah, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Thank you for watching.